For the month of February, I'm going to be focusing on painting emotions. I was going to do emotions and landscapes, however, I think that's a little bit of a too big of a project, so I'm just sticking with emotions right now. So this first video is the first week of me painting. I did Alla Prima paintings and also some watercolor paintings. So we'll kind of just go over what went right, what went wrong. Behind me here you can see a couple of the ones that I did during this week. We're going to be correcting them during this video, talking about what went wrong, what needs to go better, but also what went right. And then I'm going to paint one more at the end, kind of wrapping up the week, talking about what I've learned, what I was focusing on. Whenever I'm doing a painting for practice, I always like to paint someone famous or a celebrity, and this just really helps me focus on likeness and getting the proportions right, because no matter what you're working on, I feel like it's always really important to work on likeness. So I wasn't really happy with all of the colors and how the colors came out, but this week I was just focusing on emotions. Next week is going to be connecting the emotions with the more accurate and desirable colors in the portraits themselves. So kind of when learning about emotions this week, I really learned that the placement and the directional movement, I guess, of the brush really determines how you see the emotion, as well as the eyebrows. Yeah, they hold a lot of emotion, those suckers, so getting them right and in the correct shape and spot is really important for showing how somebody's feeling. So we'll kind of get into the correctional stage now. So starting with this Billy one, this is actually, I think, where my colors were the best this week. I really like how the colors work with each other, and I think that her piercing blue eyes come out a lot. I wish that I had a little more contrast in the hair, like within the hair itself, but how it contrasts with the face I really like. I could have left a highlight in there, so maybe that would be the only thing I would change, just go back and add that white glint with some white gouache. But overall I was pretty happy. When you're painting a watercolor portrait, I feel like water's like soft, smooth, so it makes sense. I don't know, I'm gonna try the Arches hot pressed low texture paper next, see if I like that better. Next week when I build on these and I add focusing more on color while keeping the emotions that I captured, is really going to be what helps my next portrait stand out from these ones. So I'm excited to see where that goes. And now moving into Alla Prima portraits that I did. One thing that I absolutely love about Alla Prima is how fast the feedback loop is. I mean, if you're doing it in one sitting, and each sitting takes you about, usually mine take an hour to 2 hours to do, then you're able to watch it dry and see where you did good, where you did bad, what you want to work on. But when you're spending so long, like on this moon piece back here, it took me like 3-4 months. It's not even done yet. It just drags on so long that I'm happy where it is now, but I had to overwork, rework, paint over so much that I don't think you do a lot less learning that way. And so when you're just kind of cranking them out, that's where the real magic is. Alright, so looking at this Loki portrait, I was happy with the likeness on this one. I feel like you can tell that it's him. I also like the colors that I used. I mean, I always, of course, associate Loki with green. But my favorite part about this was his expression. I think I really nailed it. I think this one was the best expression painting of this week. Just something about the direction of the strokes, and how they're working with the planes of his face. I think it's one of the best ones that I've done yet. The colors in the face, they got a little crazy. I think I went a little too orange in some places, capturing the emotions that he had of this like disgusted lips puffed face. I feel like I did really good, and this one was my favorite overall painting for emotions this week. The next one that I did was this portrait of Padme. I did it big because I didn't have a lot of time, and I feel like when you're painting a face, it's a little easier to go faster when the details are like you zoomed in on the details instead of trying to do work with like really tiny brush strokes. Color was disappointing me on this one. However, I think reusing this old canvas to repaint on was not the best idea. So I think I struggled a lot in that. When I go back and retouch, I want to work on her eyes and her dress, the color of her lips, but I think you can tell that it's her. Fixing those, I think I'm going to be really pleased with how this one turned out. Get it to a finished level, but I'm really happy with the expression. I feel like you can tell that she's just done. So, I mean, that was my main goal, so I feel like I accomplished the goal. We still have a long way to go to get this to where I want the painting to be, but I think it was a good start, and I'm excited to fix this. Now on to the last portrait of the week. This was Liv Taylor. She's the actress that played Arwen in The Lord of the Rings. This one I struggled with the most, I think, and that's because I picked a really terrible reference photo. There wasn't a lot of contrast in her face, so getting the planes was really hard. I really struggled with it. Looking at it right now, as you can see in this one, I had all of the angles wrong for how the eyes were sitting, how the mouth was sitting, how the nose was sitting, and then I had to move the eye a bunch of times. I painted a portrait almost every day, like a portrait a day this week, so I think I just kind of got burned out on Friday, and I wanted to do it fast, but going fast I cut corners and then it wasn't looking how I wanted it to. I'm pretty disappointed with the colors. I'm not sure if I'll fix this one. Gosh dang it, who am I kidding? Of course I'm going to fix this one. The little dog that she's holding, you can't really see that it's a dog either. And her hair, at the end I was just rushing. You can kind of just see it all around. It's not a total redo, but there's a lot of work to be done to get it to what I would call a finished piece. I think it was a great week. I was really productive and I got a lot more paintings done than I usually get done. Like I said, the last bit of 2025 from like, oh my gosh, it might have been like October until now, just working on that moon piece. That one has taken like painting for several hours every week for like 5 months, and then these each took a day. I mean, yeah, just thinking about the amount of work and where they're at now is insane. And that's what I would say my tip for you today is to get out there and just paint as much as you can. And I would recommend painting Alla Prima. I know it's really scary. It's really easy to get things to a terrible place. I'm sure I've shown you that rose that I just overworked it to. It's not even recognizable as a rose. And it's really frustrating when that happens, but the amount that you learn and the feedback that you get from doing it is just, there's nothing else like it in oil painting. Watercolor is definitely where I feel the strongest in my art abilities right now. The thing that I love about watercolor is that it forces you to do the sketch first, so you have to get the likeness exactly right, because you can't change it like in oil painting. You can move the eyes, move the nose, but in watercolor, where they're at is where they're at, especially after you get the paint down. So it forces me to sketch. I don't really like drawing all that much, but it's really important. It's a really important skill, and I feel like it's far overlooked for people trying to get better at painting. So that's also why I love Alla Prima, is because you have to sketch out your structure first and then you paint over it. So yeah, I would say Alla Prima if you're going to oil paint for learning. Man, I don't think there's any other way. All the old masters, when they would paint from life, I mean, that's Alla Prima too. Invaluable skill right there to learn how to Alla Prima oil paint and to get better. So that's what we're going to keep doing. We'll keep making bad paintings, but I'm really excited for where I'm at right now, and I hope that as we go through and correct these paintings that it will give you some helpful tips and yeah, inspire you to get out there and paint. Okay, let's get into the corrections. This year I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers, so if this has helped you at all, kind of seeing the process or learning about Alla Prima and you want to learn more, subscribe. I'm going to be going over the things that I've learned and tips for you, and if you could share it with someone that would also benefit from these, that would really help me out. Thank you so much for watching, and today's going to be a great day. Peace.